Welcome back. The Democrats' $1.7 trillion omnibus bill put on hold last night as Republicans work to amend the vote on Title 42 ending. Here's Utah Senator Mike Lee last night on Hannity. Watch.
All I want is an up or down vote. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are terrified of an up or down vote. Why? Well, because they want absolute pandemonium and chaos on the border. And they're terrified of this vote because they will lose, as they should lose. And so I'm standing firm. I'm going to demand an up or down vote. If they don't give us the up or down vote, this is going to be very difficult for them, and it probably will cost them the omnibus.
Joining us right now is Florida Congresswoman, House Homeland Security Committee member, and House Agriculture Committee member, Kat Cammack. Congresswoman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much. Finally, we get some pushback from Republicans in the Senate, Congresswoman. Your reaction. Can you tell us where we are right now in this omnibus and the potential for a government shutdown?
Well, good morning. It's good to see you, Maria. And it's been a late night. I'm sure you can probably see the bags under my eyes. Finally, to your point, yes, like you said, Mike Lee and some of the conservative Republicans in the Senate are pushing back with this Title 42 amendment. What we need is a vote on the amendment. Now, what Chuck Schumer is trying to do is file cloture, which starts the clock, which will put us into about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. territory for a final vote on the Omni if they can get through this amendment. Now, I think personally that they will ultimately fail because what we need, truthfully, is a short-term CR to get us into the new majority because we have a mandate from the American people. This is nothing more than a power grab by Nancy Pelosi to extend her speakership into the end of next year. This is her last hurrah. And the fact that you are hearing from Democrats in the Senate that the House will not pass a Title 42 component speaks volumes, because last night what we heard was we need to do this for Ukraine. How about we put America first and actually secure our own dang borders and hold on to the programs that are left that the Biden administration is trying to get rid of? That's what we need to do. So this is very important here.
Yeah, but we have problems with the Republicans in the Senate. We don't understand here on this set what the story is with people like Mitch McConnell, who the other day said we didn't get everything we want, but it's amazing we got all our priorities in here. What priorities is he referring to?
I don't know what priorities he's talking about. I can't speak for Senator McConnell. I can tell you that all the Democrat priorities seem to make it in. In fact, 98% of all Democrat earmarks, over 3,000 of them, have made it into this final package. Things like a $3.2 million hiking trail in Georgia named after Michelle Obama, which ironically already exists. So I don't know if they're trying to extend it or whatever, but point being, why are we paying for all these little pet projects when we have real problems in our country? Why are we not securing the border? Why are we not addressing the crime, the historic inflation, the supply chain? The list goes on and on. I don't know what Republican wins we got in it, because I can tell you House Republicans were not at the table. And that's why Kevin McCarthy went to the luncheon yesterday for the senators and said, what the heck are you guys doing? Let it be known that this is it. If you push this through, if you try to ram this down our throats with the Democrats, the House won't be playing ball with you. So there's a real power struggle here on Capitol Hill, and the clock is ticking. So the thing that we need folks to know is that the fear tactics of the left, they're in full effect. The Social Security checks all still go out, but we will fight tooth and nail. And we need our colleagues in the Senate to work with us to say, no, this needs to be shut down unless we get this Title 42 provision in there. And even then, we have no business sending $42 billion to Ukraine in the current state of affairs in America here today.
And how about no business sending money to the Middle East for their borders? Dagan, you just saw on the screen all the Republicans who are trying to advance this bill, Dagan.
Congresswoman, it's very easy to pick on Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, because her name happens to be on a walking trail. But quite frankly, a lot of the problems are right in the heart of your party. As we look at these Republican senators who voted to advance this omnibus bill yesterday, Mitch McConnell said he was, I think the word was proud. No, gross. Gross is what they've shoved into this omnibus spending bill. Richard Shelby is getting a so long goodbye party that's costing the American people more than $600 million in earmarks. That's just some of the pork shoved into this thing in the name of Republicans, in the name of red states. It's shameful. And it's shameful that they're doing it in a lame duck Congress. When the Republicans have taken over the House, we've never seen this happen before.
Don't forget the $11 billion to the FBI as they collude with media against the American people.
Well, and not to mention you have additional funding, $12 additional billion going to the IRS after they just hired 87,000 IRS agents. Of course, we have this debacle on a new 1099 system of transactions of $600 or more via Venmo or other PayPal type apps. This is ludicrous. $200 million for gender studies in Pakistan. This is insane. And you're right, there is an infighting amongst Republicans right now. But my push has always been, let's answer the call that the American people have put out. They need us unified because our greatest weapon right now against Biden and Schumer and Pelosi is unity. So McConnell needs to work with the senators in the conservative bloc like Lee and Rand Paul and Kennedy. We need to see these measures be included. Otherwise, it's just a power grab. And I reiterate that May Granger, the Republican appropriations chair, she wasn't a part of these negotiations at all. They excluded her. There were no four corners at the table. So we have a lot of work to do, and the Senate needs to understand that we're not playing around. There will be consequences if they ram this down our throats. The House will not comply with what the Senate Republicans are looking to do.
Well, and also don't put on an act like you care about the wide open border when you vote and it's not even a part of the plan. Republicans are accusing the president of creating, quote, an intentional crisis at the southern border. Here's GOP senators and what they had to say during a press conference yesterday. Watch.
This administration is not enforcing the law, and they're encouraging more and more illegal immigration.
This is going to turn a crisis into a catastrophe.
We're going to have more crime, and the Biden administration is not going to change. Are they incompetent, or is this intentional?
None of the president's positions on this make any sense to me, unless I view it from the perspective of, well, maybe he wants this to happen. I mean, nobody is this incompetent, right?
Congressman, real quick, hypothetically speaking, let's say Omnibus dies. What do Republicans come up with as an alternative early in January?
I think the answer is a short-term CR, and then we go forward and we pass a conservative budget, which, keep in mind, Pelosi never even put forward a budget. It's all just been a Omnibus or a continuing resolution kicking the can down the road. We have the power of the purse. Let's exercise that right. And to that point about that sound clip you just played, we're so far beyond the negligence. This is intentional. When you have 5 million people across and historic numbers of inflation, gotaways, fentanyl, I mean, this is absurd. How else do you describe what's happening at the southwest border? And they're saying the quiet part out loud. And so at some point, we have to stop and say, their intention is to allow as many illegals from as many foreign countries here as possible. The only thing I can surmise is that this is about votes at the end of the day. Why else would they be pushing for non-citizens to be allowed to vote, as they have pushed for the last 2 years?
Yeah, they're trying to.
That's the only thing I can say.
Trying that experiment in Washington, D.C. right now. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much. Kat Cammack joining us this morning. Have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you.